Welcome to Saturday versus Sunday. I'm Jeff Dover. With me is John Barban. Let's talk football.
All right, we're going to talk a couple NFL headlines, college headlines, and then our theme of the day is going to be crazy stats and facts in both college and pro, and just stuff that I found interesting. And again, we got to talk about something in the offseason here. So, well, it was fun. I stumbled across a Reddit thread and I was cracking up the whole time.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let it out yet. But my favorite stat comes from the Hawkeyes. That's why I get the shirt. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty good rabbit hole. The Reddit threads were really good. There was a couple other websites I looked at. There's again, nothing can. This is a fan podcast. We're the regular fans of football. That's why we're doing this. And there's nothing better than a regular fan like calling out something from like 12 years ago, like my team. This happened with my team.
Yeah. And those awesome. Reddit threads are hilarious because people pile on to the same stat and they're like, "Oh, did you also know in that game, something else happened?"
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny. So
So
anyways,
like there's nothing can beat like how much you know about your own team.
Yeah. So we mixed it up. Some of them are official from the NFL website, and some of them are fans just remembering things that were funny. So. But shall we start with, I'll start with an NFL headline here.
Please.
It's the salary cap in 2025 seems to be going up another 22 million. And this is just a statement on how much money the NFL really makes. And I guess the salary cap goes up commensurate with the TV revenues going up. So there's a proportion, right? So as it goes up each year, the overall revenue goes up, the cap goes with it. And this is going to have major implications, I'm noticing, at least in the chatter for two teams. The Rams trying to retain Stafford and the Bengals trying to deal with the Jamar Chase going to get a max contract. Hendrickson deserves max money for a defensive end, but then somehow they're trying to retain Higgins too. And T. Higgins, I guess the chatter there is he's going to be given the franchise tag. And it sounds like he doesn't want that, but how do you keep the band together? The controversy there is, are you really going to spend max money on two receivers, or at least max money on one plus a salary cap on the franchise tag on the other for a team where the defense was the problem?
Yeah.
So, Chase deserves his money. He's the best Triple Crown winner. He's the best receiver in football. But I don't know if that offense is as good as it is without Higgins. So they're really in a conundrum here because it is, it's one of the best offenses in the league. But that's not their problem. But then if you don't retain Higgins, are you losing a bit on the offense just to bring up the defense? I don't know. I don't know where to go with this one. Part of this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's a good point. Like it was, so when it goes up and that was something I really noticed from the article too. They said when it goes up and it really obviously impacts people who are signing contracts this year. Right.
Yes.
And that was a really good point that I thought it made. I think it was this article. I think they might have made this in Major League Baseball too, but they're like, because 1 year was going to go up $20 million, the next year might go up $3 million. So they chose instead for it to go up like 10 million, then 10 million.
Oh,
because
interesting.
They don't want to penalize people who are going up for contracts in the 3 million year when it goes up versus like the 20 million year, right? Because there's more money around. So I thought that was really interesting because the timing of stuff would be really important, and for some people, like you said, that's going to make the decision about the T. Higgins thing or something like that, how much they have. And so they don't want it to be that different between years, because then it would be, like, why'd your contract be so much? Well, I ended up going up the year where it was up a lot. Right. So, so I thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
It's interesting. This comes down to, and then the same thing with Stafford there, some people are, well, he's too expensive. But they were a couple plays away from beating the Eagles. Like he's still that good. I saw an awesome video of him throwing a couple of no-look passes. I don't think, but him, maybe Rodgers and Mahomes do it. Stafford is in a very rare category of player, and he still has it. Now, I know that my thesis of the running quarterback is he's becoming a bit of a relic now, the more traditional pocket player. But again, a couple plays away from taking down the Eagles in the snow. So I think, and given how well the Rams have drafted on the defensive side specifically, I think they're still there. I know that after the trade with the Lions and getting Darnold, and then Darnold retired, and it looked like, okay, they sold out for the Super Bowl. They got their Super Bowl. Now they're in a rebuild, but they look more like they're in a reload because they nailed so many draft picks. And given their performance they had this past year in the playoffs, I think they still have a Super Bowl window here if they keep Stafford. Because if you let him go, no matter what you get for him, you're just letting go one of the top 3 or 4 QBs. Like, you're not going to get another guy like that back in? Like, how could you possibly replace him? So
Mm-hmm.
they have to spend the money on him, even though it sounds like, he's late in his career, but he's still that good. I don't know. It's just interesting that as the salary cap goes up, it's still that hard to keep, quote unquote, keep the band together on some of these teams, given the way the market constantly resets for these guys' contracts.
Yeah, no, it's really hard. And we've talked about it a lot. Like there was every team, is trying to win, and you're balancing getting in a younger, unproven quarterback versus a more established one. Can we win like now? Can we, and so that's really hard. And the Rams are a great case because they had a really slow start, but then there was a couple points in the season, late in the season, where they looked like the Rams of old, and we talked about that. And and when they're on, they were really good,
Oh yeah.
So I'm the same with you. I mean, it's like when there's moments where they looked like one of the best teams, and so that would make me lean toward keeping the band together and just putting stuff around Stafford for now, for another, year or two kind of thing while the window's still there.
Yeah, it's so tricky. And this is where it gets caught up with the fans. This awkward thing where the fans are they're caught with that team, like it or hate it. They can't help it that their team is their team. And whether or not management does a good job with it, you're kind of stuck with however they manage it. So, and the players, like I said, the players last week, the players come and go, coaches come and go, even ownership can come and go while the fans are still there. So the fans sense an ownership of a team beyond everybody that's ever on the team. But at the same time, you're at the mercy of how they build the team. And if you're a Bengals fan, you really don't want to see Higgins go. But if they can't afford to build what they hope is a championship team around Burrow, with or without him, like, you're just stuck with their decisions, even though it seems like, how can you possibly let him go? But you're just stuck with it is, in the end, it's a business. And those players that you really like watching, they are, at this time of year, you realize they're commodities, and this is a business, and your players are widgets that come and go. And some of the cheapness or not of the ownership shows through. I know that there's criticism of the Bengals ownership being a little cheap. So I don't know. This is where you can see a little bit of a gap between the true nature of being a fan and like, oh, right, this is just a business for the actual ownership.
Yeah, and say, like, it's really hard to be a GM and make all those pieces together and do that, and it's really hard to be a coach, and that's why it's so easy to second guess them, right? That's it's so easy to say, like, that draft pick didn't work out, you're an idiot, like, that play didn't work, I can't believe you called that, right? But it's really hard to do it. Like, when you're the one making the decisions, it's really easy to sit back and criticize stuff, which I try not to do because I've, when you lead something, it's hard, and it's hard to do it. And when you're the one making the decision, and they have access to all the information we have. Like, they know that they'd like to keep Higgins too, like, and, and make this a non-issue, but they realize that they're limited by how much they have. And I find it fascinating how penalizing it's looked like to get the franchise tag. Like, it's one of the highest salaries at that position for a year. It's just a year, which everyone, that's the big thing, right? Because it's just a year and you could get injured and whatever. And but it is funny when it's, it does seem like it's when it's 25 million or 48, but like, how Kirk Cousins was franchised twice or
twice. He bet on himself twice. And now he's made up $350 million in his career.
Yeah. So those are QBs, and it's different than like other positions and stuff. So, but anyway, yeah, that's
anyway. So we'll see. We're in the middle of the offseason now, where all of the numbers are going to dictate who gets moved and who doesn't, who gets signed. So it's just going to heat up from here as this all gets
pretty
going
decent
here.
list of free agents too. I remember I saw that on ESPN.
Well, the Eagles have a whole bunch. That can, like, Sweat's not signed. Lots of guys aren't signed. I mean, there's it didn't even occur to me, but there's talk about Myles Garrett going to the Eagles.
That's crazy.
Well, there's just that many players they don't technically have signed right now through next year.
Yeah.
So they might actually have room for that, which is bananas, having that D-line upgrade to that.
That's crazy.
So anyways.
All right. So the next headline I'll go to is in college, NCAA football, because we've always heard that the playoff won't change. It was from last year to this year. But some news came out that that's not 100% true. As long as they get a unanimous vote, they can change something. And it looks like reseeding might be a thing, which feels like it's important, right? And everyone, if you were a fan of if you're Ohio State fan or Tennessee fan or something like that, or Oregon, even like you're a big fan of the reseeding thing, because it was Arizona State and Boise State got buys, and maybe that was right, or maybe it wasn't, depending on, if you're not a Boise State fan, you didn't think it was right. I'll tell you that. And so, which is good. I think that's how, I think it'd be hard pressed to make an argument against it. Like if it takes a little bit away from the conference championship game, but it's still, you still got to win. You still got to be highly ranked to be in there. And so I think the reseeding would be good. And if that could work out to more playoff games at home, that'd be good. But it's just interesting to see that it could change this year. And then it'll probably be expanded or even more change for 2026. But the, reseeding, I think, would be a good move.
Yeah, that was mine too. It seems as though that's probably going to happen for this coming season too.
Yeah.
I mean, it just looked really bad. I mean, no offense to Arizona State and Boise State, but they just didn't deserve buys when you have much more powerful teams that had to play and they didn't. It just doesn't. I mean, everyone across the country, higher ranked teams, just to a man, more talent, and they're the ones playing, and they're getting a bye. So it was just sort of obvious that the whole thing looked very awkward when you saw it unfold. And I bet you even Boise and Arizona State fans understand, like, we kind of got away with one there. How are we on a bye there? And teams like Ohio State are playing. So it just makes sense. I'm sure all fans in all conferences and of all teams, but yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like the reseeding it should happen, and I don't see why it's going to take another year. It probably should happen this year. To me, that was the number one thing that had to have changed after the way this past one unfolded. I'll stay with college.
And the last thing I'll just say about that was I was really surprised that people have always said that the SEC and the Big Ten have more sway, or because of the teams and the conferences and the money and that kind of a thing. But I didn't realize it was actually like in a contract that they're the ones that will have more say for the playoff. Yeah, it's explicit for 2026. So it's not just this feels like SEC and Big Ten are dictating something. They are, like, it's part of. I can't believe they got that into the contract for 2026 and forward. I mean, it makes sense, I guess, but that's a really big thing to be.
They have all the leverage. They have all the power teams. They have the TV contracts revolve around them. And if the leagues doesn't play nice with them, they're just going to take off and do their own thing. And I don't think people are going to watch. People are going to watch. If the Big Ten and the SEC somehow have to break away from the rest of college and just do a couple of independent deals with, I don't know, the ACC and the Big 12, they're going to do that. So this is where it's headed now. The NCAA is all but it just has to go away now.
Yeah.
And this is just where things are at. And it's going to be fun to watch. Those leagues have so many good teams. If they're in control of this, I'm fine with that. All the teams I want to see are there anyways. I mean, to be fair, I found the Big 12 to be the most fun league for me last year, and they're going to go with them, right? It can't work without them, but I'm okay with the Big 10 and SEC driving the bus here. And they're going to figure it out, because in the end, they still want us to watch. And so where I'll go with this is Josh Pate had a good segment where he explained, and this seems to be what's going to happen, piggybacking on the reseeding. It seems as though the Big Ten and the SEC for 2026 want to eliminate the championship game for their conference, but add in 2 play-in games. So whoever finishes ranked 1 and 2 in the conference automatically go into the playoffs. But the next 4 teams both play a play-in game. And that's the games that happen on the championship weekend instead of a conference championship game. So instead, from a TV standpoint, you get 2 games now on that weekend instead of 1. I think they'll be just as highly watched as the championship game. And they matter because someone's earning their way into the playoffs there. Whereas before, the championship game, or at least in the last number of years, almost didn't matter because both teams go in anyway. So you can lose your way into the playoffs, which is sort of dumb. So now... Oh, and this also opens the door to a 9 games conference schedule, which I was hoping for. So now we get another conference game, which is going to be a highly rated game if you get another conference game. So, and it sort of preserves the specialty of the regular season too. So you've got to be the best in your conference to win the conference, but we still get rewarded with a couple of play-in games, which I'm assuming will be home field games, not neutral site.
Hopefully.
So we're going to get more neutral. We're going to get more home game I guess their play-ins are more or less a playoff.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get essentially another round of playoffs. Winning your conference now really matters because you're going to get the higher seed.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to have a meaningless championship game where you can lose your way in. So it's not as good as you can get this situation. I think that is going to be a great solution. That's probably going to happen in 2026, at least for the Big Ten and the SEC. So we're talking 4 guaranteed playoff spots each. I don't know if it's going to extend to ACC and Big 12 doing a play-in game, probably, but this is what he was talking about as far as Big 10 SEC. And I'm all for that. That sounds like a great solution.
Yeah, it is, and it's really good, and it really reminds me of baseball. Baseball used to be like you just win the pennant, then you're in, and like they had limited number of teams in the playoffs, and when they expanded it, it made the playoff race so much more interesting because there's so many more teams that are involved. So if you have the top 2 SEC teams, and then the next 4 could be in the in the playoffs, or at least for the playoff game, that's 6 teams. So now all of a sudden, like the Arkansas Texas A&M game's really important. Like the the Vandy Auburn game's really important. Like it makes the regular season more because there's more teams that are going to be involved with it. So
because all the teams that finish 3rd through whatever it is 6th, all of that matters because you're going to make the play
7th and 8th because now you're just one way out. So it really makes the playoff race more interesting, and what that means is the regular season is more interesting.
Right.
Those are all good things there.
Which was the big fear of the playoffs, is destroying the regular season. But this actually reinvigorates it if it was losing any luster at all. This brings it back, especially with the extra conference game. Like I really like the idea of the extra conference game too. All right, you got another NFL headline?
No.
Oh, okay. We were on the same NFL headline too. Okay. All right. Do you want to? Okay. So we'll move to the theme of the show was just crazy stats and crazy facts. So
are we going NFL first or NCAA first?
Mine are just sort of jumbled up. I think mine are go NFL first. No, I think mine go NFL first. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Okay. We'll go NFL first.
All right.
I like my NCAA ones more.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. The craziest one I heard is Tom Brady has never played a snap where he's been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
God, that's amazing. Because that's a long career.
That's a long career.
With mostly one team and a little bit in Tampa.
Yeah.
But that's unbelievable.
Never mathematically eliminated. Now, obviously he was injured somewhere in there, but this is snaps that he played.
Yeah.
So
still like that's.
Could you that is when you think of it in those terms and how long he played, he's so far beyond everybody else.
There's so many QBs that can't say that. Like there's really good ones.
Like my God. And also just to pile on how crazy his career is, he's only a few plays from winning all of those Super Bowls.
Yeah.
He's got 7, but he could easily have 9, maybe 10. Not to mention, he's a few plays away from being in more Super Bowls than he was, being eliminated in the championship game. Like when you stop and really think of his career, it was ridiculously overwhelmingly beyond everyone else. Because everyone's like, 7 Super Bowls. But how many AFC championship games was he in? And the Super Bowls he lost, they weren't blowouts. Like they were close.
Think about how many snaps Rodgers took this season when they were eliminated from the playoffs.
Just this season, let alone others.
There was never a bad season, right? Is what you're saying for someone's whole career, which is really
from the
amazing.
from the minute he got to play. I still don't think we're going to see anything like that.
No, because unbelievable. Like a good, just like the 49ers were like really good, went back-to-back Super Bowls, I think. And, but then didn't this year, and with roughly the same team, so it's that sustained success is crazy.
It's just nuts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you got?
I was just really impressed. This is something that I never thought I would see in the NFL, especially now. But the Lions this season had 2,000-yard rushers and 2,000-yard receivers. And just super balanced.
Yeah.
And
it's just crazy.
Yes, it is. And and considering they weren't in the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? They're a really good team and they were right there. But
who was the receivers? Amon-Ra and and the deep threat number 9. Why am I?
Williams?
Jameson Williams. Yeah. Is that who the two were?
I'm not 100%
Probably,
sure.
But then, because I was going to say on top of that, if it's those two, which I'm guessing it is, it doesn't even account for Laporta and how good he is.
No, exactly. So it's the
either way, regardless who it is, there's even more firepower on that team beyond what those stats capture.
Yeah. Yeah, Williams at 1,001
right.
yards, and Amon-Ra 1,263.
Right.
So yeah,
And then add in a completely stud tight end on top of that doesn't even factor into that ridiculous stat you just read.
No, so because the idea, like 1,000 yards for receiving is really good. Only 24 receivers had it this year out of the whole league, so it's not every team.
2 of them were on one team.
Yeah, and 2 of them were on one team. And same thing with the 1,000-yard rushing. It's not happens like everybody, and so to have 2 on one team, and to be that bad, it just makes it so much harder to defend, which is why they were good this year. But it's didn't translate to too much playoff success. But still, it's really like I don't think we're gonna with what we were just talking about with the salary cap and things like that. Like we're not gonna see this again, or like it's the so.
Well, and it's just shocking, and it's unfortunate with an offense that good and that balanced that their whole defense they just lost so many pieces on defense is what finally caught up with them, I think.
Yeah,
but
well, and they just had there's only a handful of teams. Wait a minute, there's Gibbs had 1,400 yards. Where's the
what are you looking at now?
I'm looking at the rushing yards for where the anyway.
All right. So I got a funny one here. It's a little older, but Sammy Baugh once threw for 4 touchdown passes, had an 81-yard punt, and caught 4 interceptions in one game.
Oh man, that's a good one.
I mean, we're never going to see anything like that again. But the thing is, he had an 81-yard punt, not punt return, punt. It's like I was going to say, who could even? Travis Hunter might have a shot at doing the catches, the TD catches and the interceptions, but I don't think he punts. So it's just a funny stat that you get from some of these older games that really people did that sort of stuff there. So there was all kinds of old funny ones, but I thought that one really caught my attention.
That's a good one. Those are back in the day when you do multiple things. It's pretty cool. So, Saquon Barkley was stopped on the 1-yard line 11 times this season, which feels like a lot.
Wow.
But
he could have had that many more TDs.
It feels like that's also part of the reason why the tush push or the brotherly shove.
Yeah, that's right.
So many times, right? So it's but that did feel like a lot, right? Like that's a big change, and
for as good of a season, and then you think, oh man, he might have had 5, 6, 7 more touchdowns if any of those made it.
And I didn't. Because I saw the tush push so many times with the Eagles this season, I can't believe that they actually ran Barkley 11 times on the 1-yard line like that.
Right. I see what you mean. There's that too.
A lot of 1-yard.
Yeah. Well, no, he stopped on the 1. Doesn't mean it was a 1-yard run.
No, true.
Right. I got a funny one, Tyson. This one's for you. The Bears have never had a 4,000-yard passer.
Yeah.
Only one in the NFL.
Yeah,
only team.
Considering like that 4,000 yards was a big deal, like not long ago. Now, not anymore. It isn't now, but still, that's
So Purdy did it his first season, second season, first season starting a full season, so it's not that hard. What else?
I had Lamar Jackson was the only QB so far to have 40 QB passes and less than 5 picks. I thought that was interesting.
40 TDs, you mean?
Yeah, 40 TD passes and less than 5 picks. There's normally be more because when you're slinging it that much. Normally you would have more picks, right? So I thought
he is so good in the regular season, and then the picks just start to pile on in the off.
Right?
That is so strange because he's so good, and that nothing really seems to change. I don't know why it happens in the offseason with him, because he doesn't look like he's rattled or anything, but somehow his turnover ratio just goes way up. I mean, obviously the other team is better. They're playing against better teams in general in the postseason. But man, it's shocking for a guy that good for it to be that much of a difference from the regular season to the postseason.
Oh, I think hold on. So just a quick correction for my Detroit Lions ones. There's 4 2,000-yard rushers, and it was the Montgomery had 775 yards rushing, but 341 receiving. So I guess
you mean total scrimmage yards?
Yeah.
Dover's just making stuff up now.
Yeah, no, I apologize for the random website that gave me that information.
Still 4 players going over 1,000 yards from scrimmage is a big deal.
I still like it.
Yeah, it's still a good one. All right, I got a funny one. And now there's a lot of them. This is just the first one I noticed was Jerome Bettis had a game where he had 5 carries for -1 yard and 3 TDs. And it's just funny because you obviously, for running back, a negative play, I guess, subtracts from your running yards. But first of all, 5 carries. Like Bettis normally gets throughout his season, I can't even picture a game where he only gets 5 carries, but he gets 3 TDs and 5 carries.
Yeah. And then lost yards on the other two, and they were short run, TD run.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
There's
Well, they
a real
all had to be short.
specific,
He only minus 1 yard
yeah,
total. Now,
real
there's
specific
a
game
few
script.
stat lines like that, but I thought that was one of the funnier ones.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what else you got?
That was it for the NFL for me.
I'll just run through a few more then. Tampa Bay has never given a QB they drafted a second contract.
What?
I'm assuming the source is accurate on that, but I started thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, maybe they haven't.
So it's William,
That's crazy, eh? Like that's, I mean, I guess they're a younger team, but still, talk about not hitting it in the draft. Even though they've won the Super Bowl, I guess it doesn't really matter if you can figure out how to piece a team together. You don't necessarily have to draft the guy. Another one, Zach Martin has more Pro Bowls than holding penalties. Awesome. That's just awesome. And then you have to maybe be a little bit older to remember this one, but Derek Thomas had 7 sacks in one game.
Yeah, I saw that one too. Has
really anyone come close? Maybe somebody done 6? I think 5 has been done a few times, but 7's a lot. That's a decent season for a decent defensive end in a season to have 7, and to do 7 in one game. At his peak, he was just a complete freak. He was a totally different kind of player. But I don't know if we'll ever see something like that again, the way offenses are run now, but that was pretty impressive. All right, moving on to college.
Yeah, just going through the Tampa quarterbacks. They had Doug Williams for a bit, but I don't think he was drafted by them. And then they had a different QB like Steve DeBerg for a couple of years, Vinny Testaverde for a couple of years, but he probably, I don't know if he was drafted by them.
Isn't that crazy?
But and then Trent.
But they've won 2 Super Bowls.
Trent Dilfer was there 5 years, but that might have been just one contract, or I don't even know if he was drafted by them either.
No, I mean obviously
Brad Johnson, Jeff Garcia was
the Brady Super Bowl. Obviously, that's not their draft pick.
Josh Freeman might have been drafted by him, but he was only there 3+ years. Winston was there 5, but that might have been now
that stat only works for a younger expansion team.
But still, at least still from 76. Assume. Like that still covers a lot of.
So it's a long time. It's a long time.
So
it's 48 years.
The first QB for the Tampa Bay Bucks was Steve Spurrier. Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, in 1976. Cool. He had 12 games that year. Anyway.
All right.
Okay, so what do you got for college now? Yep.
All right. Funny one. When USC plays UCLA, USC's commute is shorter because of where the Rose Bowl is. That's just a funny one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like it when they do the uniforms too, when they both have like the red and then the blue and the. That's. Really
I wish more teams would do that. First of all, that's the best looking game in all of college is the UCLA USC game because they wear their homes.
Yeah,
and LA, no matter which stadium you get the golden hour light. The other game last year that looked amazing was Utah BYU. They both wore darks. Utah was all red, BYU was all blue, and I thought, man, they got to do more of this. The whole white jersey thing was a relic from black and white TV. Just let the teams with maybe don't do an all orange and an all red team, but do let teams with completely opposite looking jersey, let them both go all darks.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with doing that.
No.
Oh, you know what's funny? Based on I just said the all red, all orange. I saw an NCAA basketball game between Illinois and Wisconsin, and they were both in their darks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was all red and all orange on the court, and you could not tell what was going on. All I can think of is the road team. One of the two teams brought the wrong color, but which I don't understand because whoever was at home could have just switched to their whites.
Yeah.
But somehow they were both on the court in their darks, and it just looked like 10 people in red.
Yeah.
It was the dumbest looking thing. So I get that if your uniforms are too close, you shouldn't do it. But when you have a red team and a blue team, just let them both go in their darks if they want to. It looks fantastic.
And it's funny how I don't know where that rule is or why they haven't changed it. And I feel like Oregon gets around it because they make crazy different stuff.
There is no home color for Oregon.
No,
it's whatever they want.
It's like green, yellow. They do the eggshell thing. It was black. Yeah. It's really weird.
Their best is when they have the orange socks on to actually look like a duck.
Yeah. So it's really weird that they don't trigger that rule, but the USC, one.
I mean, I heard that USC and UCLA just pay a nominal fine for doing that. Maybe I don't know if that's true anymore, but it just looks so good. I just wish more teams would do it. The
absolutely.
White, unless white is part of your actual uniform, like Texas or Tennessee, if you have other colors, it'd just be so much more fun if you're just in your darks. Darks against darks just would look really good. All right,
Okay.
what do you got?
All right. So this one I liked. So Bryson Daly was awesome this year. We loved watching Army. There was a bit of a wagon for us with some of the
wagon
betting.
for
It was
us.
great. So he scored 33 TDs. Now I did double check because with the math, I did it wrong the first time because a TD isn't worth 7 points, Barban. It's worth 6.
It's worth
And the
6,
kick is
Jeff.
worth 1. Yeah. So 33 TDs equals 198 points. So he works out to 15.2 points a game himself.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And Florida State this year has scored 185 points total for the season, which averages 15.4 points a game. So Bryson Daly himself
outscored the Seminoles.
It is 15.2 to 15.4, but almost the same.
About the same.
As the team the Seminoles.
Man, I actually heard Joel Klatt was talking about he doesn't think we'll ever see a team fall that badly.
Oh, I would have said yes to that prior to the transfer portal and the NIL era, because it would be hard for the team to be that good to lose that many players. But I feel like it could happen now. Like if a coach left at a bad time,
I guess,
and a bunch of people got out, like it, maybe. But man,
it was. I was shocked as the season went on.
Who's the coach? It was for Florida State. It's
Norvell.
Yeah, Norvell. Yeah. He's going to earn his money this year.
So is he ever? Is he ever? All right. So the shirt, Iowa Hawkeyes get the shirt for winning a game against South Dakota State 7-3, but didn't score a touchdown. The 7 was 2 safeties and a field goal, which is the most Iowa stat you're ever going to get.
That's awesome.
Which they cracked me up for that. The offense
7-3. What a rock!
I watched them just for the spectacle of how bad the offense is and how good the defense is. It's the most lopsided, one-sided team I've ever seen, and they got rid of Ferentz's son, and it's still like it's obviously from the top down. Ferentz clearly doesn't care about offense.
No,
and he does the whole defense
for like a long time now.
Yeah, but he does the whole defense, special team, protect the ball, and it's a winning team all the time. And I just don't get I don't get it. I don't get how he can't and they recruit good players too. I just don't get how he can't let somebody just run the offense like a real offense. I don't know. They're an anomaly. I find them interesting to watch because it's so strange. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that's the most Iowa stat you're ever going to get.
Yeah, man. I remember that one Auburn game where it finished 3-2, and it was just what a absolute rock fight. But I feel bad. I worked with a football team once where the offense was fine, but the defense was really good. And I remember like in the preseason and during practices and scrimmages and stuff, I remember one of the defensive ends saying, like, he sort of pulls all the defense together and he's like, hey, ever since I've been here, the defense kind of leads this team. Like we're the best unit on the field. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh man, you're going to say that out loud. Like it's going to be really divisive within the team, like in terms of chemistry or something. I can't imagine what it would be like for Iowa to be a defensive player and be like our offense is going to go 3 and out again. And we've got to keep it in the game again, like every series, every game. I just don't know how they do it.
I mean, unless they quickly turn their eyes to, like, we send a lot of guys to the NFL, and we're a highlight for sending guys to the NFL, I guess, on defense.
I am a tackling machine, and that's all I want to do. And I thank you, offense, for getting out in 10 seconds again, because I want to get back out there and just bring guys down again.
If you're drafting in the NFL, if you're drafting Iowa defensive players, they have seen the field a lot. Like a lot.
All right. Next interesting, crazy NCAA stat. Tim Brown won the Heisman Trophy in 1987. He had 39 catches for 846 yards.
That's not that good. That is so odd.
He's a really good player. Also had some punt returns and some.
I think it had to have been something else. Yeah,
it was not that. Like he didn't have. It was like 400 punt return yards or 300 rushing or something like that. Right. So just to be in perspective, because we're a big Smith fan this year, right? Mm-hmm. For Ohio State, he had 76 catches for 1,315 yards and 15 TDs. So
it's a different era.
3 TDs. Tim Brown had 3 TDs.
I know. I saw that. What a weird stat.
He was good. Good in the NFL.
Team's good, but that's a weird one. Yeah. All right, 2009, Iowa State scored 9 points off of 8 Nebraska turnovers to win 9-7.
God, it's
What a
another
terrible game.
God.
God,
Like,
Nebraska can
it's
put in
really,
some duds.
it's crazy that game wasn't like 1941 or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I could see, like, before the forward pass and like leather helmets, like I could see that, but not that
8
wasn't.
turnovers and you only score 9 points.
Oh man, so the football was
Jeez.
a greased watermelon
And the
that
thing
day.
is, you always get crazier stats in college. Like
Yes.
in-game stats, you get these funny in-game stats that you just don't get in pro. Because obviously everyone knows this, the talent's more normalized, like the teams are closer. But that's why college is so much fun to watch, because you get these weird games like this.
Mm-hmm. No,
All right, what else you got?
that's not. Okay, so
All right, well,
so I really like the Barry Sanders, his Heisman Trophy thing. That was on a few threads and a few websites. I thought it was awesome. So he rushed for so many yards that season, and he was amazing. The lowest total he ran for in a game was 154. That was the lowest, right? And you think about how good like Ashton Genty was and stuff. There were still games where he had under that, you know. So how good must he have been? He had 3 games over 200 yards rushing. He had 4 games over 300 yards rushing, and he had 5 TDs in a game 3 times, which is in the regular season, which is crazy. So
and he did all that. And it was less total games too. And
yes,
that guy was just a complete freak.
Yeah, Oklahoma State. Yep. What a great season.
Okay, I got a weird one. Trevor Lawrence never lost a game on Saturday.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because that makes it so, because that national championship game would have been on a Monday or something,
or conference championship games, anything other than playoff games. Sometimes weren't on Saturdays.
The ACC playoff game was on a Sunday, right? Yeah. So you can, but that's still a really good record.
Kind of cool stat.
Yeah. It's a really good stat. Yeah, I like that one. All right, that was it for me.
And I got my last one. K-State, one of our wagons this past year. So K-State won 299 games in 93 seasons pre-Bill Snyder for 3.2 games per year per season.
That's not good.
During Bill Snyder's tenure, they won 215 games in 25 seasons, averaging 8.6 wins per season.
Averaging 8.6.
So that just shows you where you are isn't as important as who the coach is. Because for 93 seasons, you could say that was just a program that cannot win. It doesn't have the location, the resources, whatever it is, it can't do it. A guy like Snyder comes along.
Division, right? Texas, Oklahoma,
all of that
there
stuff
for a long time.
3 wins per season for 90 years, and then Snyder comes along and it's 8.5 wins per season. So, a generational type of coach that can bring whatever it is that these type of guys bring, like a Saban, like this sort of guy, Snyder. I mean, there's a reason why they named the field after him, right? He's that big of a deal. So I guess it gives hope to any school that seems like they just can't do it. And this guy comes along and is like, what are you talking about? We can do it. And he did it. And now they've, like, the younger, I mean, I don't really remember them from before Snyder, obviously, but I've always thought of K-State as a good team.
Yeah.
But that's in our generation. But before that, people are like, what are you talking about? K-State's terrible before Snyder, right? So it's just, I was just blown away that how big of a difference that made. And to me, they're just one of the better programs in the conference. And but it didn't occur to me the history was that bad before him. So it's just certain coaches really, really matter.
Yeah, no, it really does. And especially with football. I mean, it's like that in other sports too, but I really like, especially in football, I think it's so important. There's so many personnel involved. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Think about how many offensive, defensive coordinators he had come and go during that time. Because they were really good for like a long time, you know? So,
I feel like if you stay in the state there, I think Leipold is doing that with Kansas right now.
Hopefully.
Like if he sticks around, it might be a story that there might be a similar kind of stat in the next 20 years. Kansas before Leipold and Kansas with Leipold.
There's no way the SEC and the Big Ten are going to let that happen. Like someone in that league is going to hire.
He's so good. But they're rebuilding the facilities. They're really investing there. So hopefully he sticks around. That team's fun with him. I hope he stays.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right. Well, that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, that was it. I had just looking at the rushing yards here for the NCAA this season. So total amount of rushing yards. So look, who had led the league in NCAA? You remember?
Genty?
Yeah.
No, was it?
Yeah,
it was
Genty. 2,600, which is
that's a lot.
Second place, if you had to guess.
Oh, Caleb Johnson.
Oh, great,
Iowa
great guess.
Hawkeyes.
Yeah, number 7. So
he's 7. Who was second?
but he's only 100, like, or 150 yards. Only 150 yards separate, like, 2nd through 7.
Oh,
So,
okay. Who was
yeah,
second?
great guess. Cam Scattaboo. It's
Oh, okay. Yeah,
1,700.
right.
And then
Yeah.
3rd, Omarion Hampton from UNC.
Oh, he's good. We saw
Right?
him live. He's
Yeah.
great.
No,
Yeah.
he's
I think he'll be a sleeper pick in this draft too.
I mean, he was a bell cow.
Totally.
Yeah.
For a number of years too.
Yeah, and then Daly was 4th, right? For Army. The QB was ranked
that makes
4th
sense.
in the right.
Yeah.
And then this Trey Stewart from Jacksonville State, and then RG Harvey, what I heard of from UCF, was really good.
Yeah.
And then Texas Tech had, apparently, who I did not know this, had a running back at 1,500 yards. Taj Brooks. Never good for them, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
pay a little bit more attention to Texas Tech. Okay. Right. Well, that was a fun one. So yeah, that's it. We'll hope. If you have any concepts you want us to cover, just to put it in the comment section. Also, we super appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, that really helps us out.
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a concept for the offseason that crosses both the NCAA and NFL. So that's why we did before we did why is the tush push not used in college versus NFL, and then this one was crazy stats in both leagues. So
but yeah,
we're
always going to try to bridge between the two. I mean, there's enough shows about each individually, so we're always trying to bridge between the two. All right, so join us next week for our next episode. Catch you later.